Welcome back to the deep dive. I was walking to the studio today, just doing the usual routine, scrolling through my phone, checking a few emails, paying a utility bill through an app, texting a friend some, let's call it sensitive gossip about a mutual acquaintance.
hmm
And I had this overwhelming feeling of safety. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely.
That little lock icon in the browser URL bar,
Hmm.
the Face ID scan that unlocks the phone.
Yeah.
We have this deeply ingrained assumption that our digital lives are these fortress-like vaults. We think it's on my phone, it's password protected, it's encrypted, it's safe.
It's a comforting illusion, isn't it? I mean, it's what allows us to function in the modern
It
world.
has to be.
But based on the stack of research we are covering today, that fortress isn't made of steel or concrete, it's made of ice.
Oh,
And the global temperature is rising rapidly.
that is a terrifyingly accurate metaphor. And we aren't talking about a slow melt where we have, decades to patch the roof.
No, not at all.
We are talking about a flash boil.
Uh-huh.
Today, we are exploring the end of the secret. And I don't mean that metaphorically, like, oh, people overshare on TikTok.
Right.
I mean the literal mathematical end of privacy as a concept. We are talking about Q-Day.
Q-Day. It sounds like a bad sci-fi movie title, but it is very real, and it is the central focus of the primary text we're dissecting today. The quantum unmasking, privacy and power after Q-Day.
And before we spiral into the absolute panic, which, let's be honest, we definitely
We
will,
probably will, yeah.
we need to level set for the learner listening in. This isn't about someone guessing your password because you used your dog's name and 123.
No, not even close.
This is about a structural collapse of the internet's physics, right? What is the core premise here?
So the premise rests on the fact that everything we trust, your bank, your government, your private signal messages, your medical records, relies on encryption.
Everything.
And modern encryption, the stuff that protects the entire global economy right now, is basically just really hard math. It involves factoring massive prime numbers. It's a math problem that would take a traditional supercomputer, even the biggest one at NASA, millions of years to solve.
Right. We feel safe because the math is too hard to break. The wall is too high to climb.
For now. But the source material outlines the arrival of Q-Day.
And that's the key.
That is the hypothetical yet inevitable date when a quantum computer becomes powerful enough, technically, the term is cryptographically relevant, to solve those math problems not in millions of years, but in minutes or even seconds.
So it turns the bank vault into a screen door.
Worse. It removes the door entirely. It dissolves the walls. And the mission of this deep dive is to look at the three blast zones described in the text: trust, economy, and sovereignty.
Okay.
But here is the kicker, and this is what really kept me up last night reading this. You don't need to wait for the quantum computer to be built to be in danger.
This was the part that made me want to throw my laptop out the window. This concept of harvest now, decrypt later, or HNDL.
HNDL. It's the strategy that defines our current reality.
Let's break this down. Because usually when I think about security, I think about the now. If I'm not hacked today, I'm safe.
Right. A very present tense threat model.
Exactly. If my firewall holds up today, I'm good.
Right.
But HNDL says that mindset is completely wrong.
It's dangerously outdated. Think of it like this. Imagine you are a diplomat or a CEO or even just a regular person having a private conversation today.
Okay.
You are sending encrypted data over the internet. Now, bad actors, nation states, massive criminal syndicates, intelligence agencies, they can't read that data today.
To them, it looks like static.
It's garbled nonsense. They don't have the key.
Right.
But storage is cheap. I mean, ridiculously cheap. Hard drives are incredibly inexpensive, so they are scooping up that static.
Oh, okay.
They are recording terabytes, petabytes, exabytes of encrypted traffic every single day. They act like vacuum cleaners on the fiber optic cables of the world. They store it in massive server farms that are essentially data vaults. They label it. This is Host's email bundle from 2024. This is the Pentagon's uplink. This is the R&D file transfer from Pfizer. And then they wait.
They're just waiting for the machine that turns the static back into English.
Exactly. They are betting that in 2030 or 2035 or whenever Q-Day hits, they will have the quantum key. And on that day, they unlock the vault.
So everything you are sending right now, believing it is temporary and private.
It's actually being archived for a future audience that you can't control.
That's the time bomb metaphor the source uses. We are all sitting on a digital time bomb. We are living in a glass house, but the lights haven't been turned on yet.
And the source is very, very clear on this point. Privacy is effectively already gone for anything with a shelf life longer than 10 years.
Say that again. That's a huge statement.
If you have a secret that needs to stay secret until 2040, maybe it's a trade secret, a legal strategy, or personal indiscretion, you shouldn't be typing it into a computer in 2026. Because by the time 2035 rolls around, the shield protecting that 2026 data will be gone. It's as good as public.
That is a staggering thought. It completely reframes how we use technology. But let's get technical for a second, just so we aren't fear-mongering without the science.
Good idea.
Why is the quantum computer the magic bullet? What makes it different from just a really, really fast supercomputer?
Yeah, it's a great question because it's not just about speed. It's about a fundamentally different way of processing information.
Okay.
A classical computer, the laptop in front of you, the server running Google, thinks in bits, ones and zeros. It's linear.
On or off?
Exactly. Think of it like a mouse in a maze trying to find a piece of cheese. A classical computer has to run down one path, hit a dead end, turn around, and try the next path. It's a very fast mouse. But if the maze is complex enough, like 2048-bit encryption, it takes forever to check every path.
Okay, so traditional hacking is the mouse running really, really fast, but the maze is just too big.
Right. A quantum computer uses qubits. And because of the weird laws of quantum mechanics, specifically superposition and entanglement,
The spooky stuff.
the very spooky stuff, that computer doesn't have to run the maze one path at a time. It can essentially exist in every path of the maze simultaneously. It explores all possibilities at once.
Wow.
It doesn't search for the cheese. The answer just sort of collapses out of the probability cloud.
So the math problem that secures my credit card, which relies on the difficulty of factoring those huge numbers, isn't hard for a quantum computer.
It's trivial. It's like doing 2 plus 2. The walls of the maze just aren't there for it. Shor's algorithm, the thing that does this, basically sees right through the problem.
Okay, I'm sufficiently terrified by the mechanism.
I think that's the appropriate reaction.
Let's look at the fallout. The source breaks this down into pillars, and the first one is the death of the secret. This focuses on societal trust.
This is the psychological aspect. And honestly, while the financial stuff is scary and the geopolitical stuff is terrifying, I think this hits home the hardest for the average person.
I agree.
We aren't talking about nuclear codes here. We are talking about your life, your internal world.
The text calls it the great unmasking.
And that's exactly what it is. Imagine a world where privacy is retrospective. That's the phrase that stuck with me from the text. Retrospective privacy.
What does that mean exactly?
We operate under the assumption that the past is sealed, right?
Right.
If I said something 5 years ago in private, it stays there. It's done. But in an H&DL world, the past is open season. It can be revoked retroactively.
The privacy you thought you had in 2024 can be taken away from you in 2034.
Precisely. The deal gets altered after the fact.
The source gave some chilling examples of this. Take disappearing messages. We all use them. Signal, WhatsApp, Snapchat.
Yeah, a daily part of life.
You set the timer for 30 seconds, you send something intimate or maybe a bit of dark humor or a controversial political take, and it goes poof from the screen. You feel safe.
But it didn't go poof from the network. It traveled across the internet. It went through routers and switches and servers.
And if that packet of data was harvested?
If it was harvested by an adversary or even just a data broker hoarding info for the future, it's sitting on a hard drive in a bunker somewhere. It's encrypted, sure. But when Q-Day hits, that disappearing photo or text is just a clear, readable file.
It never disappeared.
It was just locked in a glass box that was temporarily painted black, and now the paint is scraping off.
And it's not just embarrassment, is it? We are talking about the weaponization of the past.
This is the really scary part. Think about the cultural shift between, say, 2010 and 2025.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
What was acceptable to say or think in 2010 might be career-ending today. Now project that forward. What are you saying privately today, in confidence, that might be considered radical or bigoted or illegal in the political climate of 2035?
You could be canceled or prosecuted or blackmailed for private thoughts you had a decade ago.
Except
Things you thought were completely safe and ephemeral, a joke between friends.
it creates a blackmail economy on steroids.
Yeah.
If I have your entire searchable history of private emails from your 20s, every frustration, every mistake, every secret, every bad joke, and you are running for office or trying to get a promotion in your 40s,
You're completely compromised.
I own you. I don't even need to release the data. I just need to let you know that I can. The threat is the weapon.
I had this moment reading the source where I thought, So nothing we do now is actually deleted. And the answer is basically no.
If someone wants it bad enough and harvested it, it's there.
Which leads to the behavioral shift the source predicts. I mean, if you realize that the digital world is essentially a permanent record that will eventually be public, what do?
How do you adapt to that?
You stop using it. You shut up.
Exactly. The text predicts a retreat from digital, a physical-first resurgence.
I actually found this part kind of romantic in a dystopian noir sort of way.
I know what you mean. There's a certain appeal to it.
The idea that to be truly free, you have to disconnect completely.
It's a rational response to the loss of digital confidence. The source suggests that citizens will realize their private lives are merely on a 10-year delay.
That's a great phrase.
So for anything that actually matters, you don't use a phone, you don't use email, you certainly don't use the cloud.
So visualize this future with me. It's 2035. You want to tell your friend a secret.
Okay.
You don't text them. You meet them in a park. You leave your phone at home or in a Faraday bag. You walk to a bench.
And you whisper, it's the return of the park bench meeting, or business contracts. The source mentions a return to paper documentation, actual physical signatures, wet ink.
Why, though? Just for the record.
Well, two reasons. One, because a digital signature can be forged, which we will get to in a minute, but also because you don't want the negotiation emails, the back and forth, to be harvested. You don't want your opponent in 10 years to see your entire strategy.
Right. And cash.
Yeah.
We've spent the last decade sprinting toward a cashless society. Venmo, Apple Pay, crypto.
All digital, all trackable.
But the source suggests we might see a massive swing back to physical cash because it's the only way to pay for something without creating a permanent digital trail that will eventually be unmasked.
It's a total reversal of the last 30 years of digital adoption. We've been rushing to put everything online because it's convenient.
Incredibly convenient.
But if the cost of convenience is total retroactive transparency, the source argues that society will fracture. You'll have the public life online, which is performative, sterile, and fake.
The curated Instagram feed of your life.
And then the real life, which happens strictly offline, in person, in hushed tones.
It's like we're all going to have to become spies in our own lives just to maintain a shred of privacy.
That's a great way to put it. We become handlers of our own information. We have to think about operational security for a grocery list.
And that erosion of trust isn't just between people, it destroys the economy too. Which brings us to the second pillar, global economic fragility.
And this is where it goes from personal anxiety to systemic collapse.
Okay, this section scared me for different reasons. This isn't about embarrassment. This is about poverty.
Breaths.
The source talks about breaking the mechanism of ownership. That sounds abstract, but it's actually really concrete.
Right. To understand this, you have to understand digital signatures.
Yeah, okay, let's break that down.
In the digital world, how do I know that you own your bank account and not me? How do I know that a transaction came from you?
I don't know, a password. Two-factor authentication.
Those are layers, but at the core, I don't see your face. I see a cryptographic signature. It's the digital equivalent of a wax seal on a letter. It proves authenticity and integrity.
Is the proof of identity.
Yes. But if I have a quantum computer, I can forge your wax seal perfectly.
So it's not like a clumsy copy.
It's mathematically identical. I can sign a transaction as host speaker and transfer all your money to me, and the bank system will look at it and say, yep, that's a valid signature. Approved.
So it's not just theft. It's that the system can't tell the difference between the thief and the owner.
Exactly. The source calls this a breakdown of ownership. If a quantum actor can forge a signature, the entire concept of, I own this digital asset, a stock, a dollar, a deed to a house, it collapses.
And the stakes are astronomical. The source lays out a specific scenario involving Fedwire. For those who don't know, Fedwire is.
It's the plumbing of the U.S. financial system. It's how banks send trillions of dollars to other banks every single day.
Right.
The statistic in the text is jarring. It estimates that a single-day quantum attack on a major U.S. bank's access to Fedwire could put 10 to 17% of the U.S. GDP at risk.
Instantly.
Instantly.
That is trillions of dollars. But why is it so high? Is it just the money stolen?
No, it's the freeze. That's the nuance people miss. It's not about one bank getting robbed.
It's the systemic reaction.
Yeah. Yes. If the Federal Reserve realizes that digital signatures are being forged, they can't just reverse one transaction. They can't tell which ones are real and which ones are fake.
There's no way to know.
So what do? They have to shut the system down.
They have to pull the plug on the economy.
Exactly. Imagine the global economy simply stopping. No transfers, no payroll, no stock trades, no international shipping payments clearing.
The trucks stop moving because the fuel can't be paid for.
It's not a slow leak. It's a massive coronary event for the financial system.
As a heart attack. And speaking of heart attacks, let's talk about the crypto folks.
No, yeah.
The source calls this an extinction event for blockchain, which is a pretty dramatic term.
It is, but it's probably accurate. This is fascinating because the crypto community often prides itself on security. Code is law, right? The math is pure.
Unbreakable.
But the source points out that most cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, use something called elliptic curve cryptography, or ECC.
Which I assume is vulnerable to quantum attacks.
Right. Highly vulnerable. It is exactly the kind of math quantum computers eat for breakfast. It's even easier for them to break than the stuff banks use.
So what happens?
The source describes a scenario where the first person with a functional quantum computer could simply scan the Bitcoin ledger, which is public, remember?
Right. Transparency is the whole point of the blockchain.
But in this case, transparency is the downfall. It's a list of every bank vault in the world, just without the keys.
But the quantum computer can make the keys.
It can derive the private keys from the public keys on the ledger, and suddenly they have the password to every wallet on the network.
Every single one.
Every one that uses that type of address. They could drain the entire market cap of Bitcoin, hundreds of billions of dollars, in an afternoon.
But wait, surely the crypto developers know this. Can't they just patch it, update the code?
They can. They are working on quantum-resistant blockchains. But here's the problem. Migration.
Getting everyone to move over.
Yeah. Yes. In a centralized system like a bank, the CEO says, update the software, and the IT team updates the server. In a decentralized blockchain, everyone has to agree to move their money to a new wallet type.
And if you are a passive investor who lost your hard drive or just isn't paying attention or forgot your password years ago,
you get left behind. Your old wallet becomes vulnerable. It's a logistical nightmare of epic proportions.
it's a coordination problem from hell.
And the source argues that the panic alone, the fear of a quantum break, could crash the value to zero before the computer's even turned on. It's a run on the bank, but the bank is the internet, and the doors are made of math that is dissolving before your eyes.
And while everyone is watching the banks and the crypto markets, the source points out a quieter, perhaps more damaging threat.
Corporate espionage and leapfrogging.
Right.
This is the harvest now part coming back to bite the corporate world. Think about a pharmaceutical company. They spend 10 years and billions of dollars developing a new cancer drug.
A massive investment.
All that research data, the failed trials, the chemical formulas, it's all encrypted and stored on their cloud servers.
But a state-sponsored hacker has been harvesting those encrypted files for years,
Yeah.
just sucking them up.
Q day arrives, they decrypt the files, suddenly they have the formula. They didn't pay for the R&D, they didn't spend the 10 years, they just leapfrog the competition.
And the source points out the timing problem here, which is just brutal.
Yes.
These secrets tend to get decrypted right as the technology reaches its peak market value.
Right. You launch the drug, expecting to have a patent monopoly for 20 years to recoup your investment. But the day you launch, a competitor in another country launches a generic version because they've been reading your mail the whole time.
It destroys the incentive to innovate.
Completely. Why spend billions on research if it's just going to be stolen and unlocked at the most damaging possible moment?
So we have a breakdown of social trust, a potential collapse of the banking system, and the theft of intellectual property on a global scale. But wait, there's more.
Of course there is.
Section 3. Geopolitical power shifts. This is the sovereignty crisis.
This is where we get into the spy novel territory, but again, it's all based on the math. The source uses the term God view.
That is a heavy term, the God view. Define that for us.
It refers to the nation that achieves a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, that's the technical term, CRQC first.
The winner of the quantum race.
The winner of this race doesn't just get a fast computer, they don't just get to break things in the present, they get total visibility into the world's historical data.
It's the ultimate intelligence asymmetry.
Imagine country A and country B. They are negotiating a treaty in 2024, they sign it, everyone smiles, shakes hands for the cameras.
Standard diplomacy.
But in 2032, country A gets a quantum computer. Suddenly, they can read all of country B's internal diplomatic cables from 2024. Every email, every memo.
Because they can see what country B was really thinking.
Exactly. They can see the internal disagreements. They can identify the covert assets country B had in the room. They can see the bluffs.
Oh, they said they would walk away if we didn't give them this concession.
But this email here from their finance minister says they were desperate and would have signed anything.
It changes diplomacy completely. You can't bluff if your opponent can read your mind, or at least your emails, from the past.
And you can't protect your agents. If you had a spy in their government 10 years ago, their cover is blown, their entire network of sources.
It's a total retroactive exposure of the intelligence network.
Every secret alliance, every back channel deal, every weak spot is laid bare.
But there was one part of this section that I found even more disturbing than the spying. It's not about reading the past, it's about changing it.
The weaponized data and the integrity crisis.
Yes.
This is the most dangerous aspect, in my opinion. We've been talking about decryption reading what is written, but quantum computers can also break hashes.
Okay, simple explanation for the listener. What is a hash?
A hash is like a digital fingerprint. When you save a document, a video evidence file, or a contract, the computer creates a unique string of characters based on the contents of that file.
Like a checksum.
Exactly. If you change even a comma in the file or one pixel in the video, the hash changes completely. It's how we prove that data hasn't been tampered with. It's the basis for data integrity.
So if I present digital evidence in court, the hash proves it's the original file.
Correct. But if I can break the hash algorithm, if I can find what mathematicians call a collision,
A collision.
I can alter the file, I can change the words, change the numbers, change the face in the video, and then generate a new file that has the exact same digital fingerprint as the original.
Wait, so I can rewrite the document, but the digital fingerprint still matches the original. It's a perfect forgery.
Yes, which means I can rewrite history.
That breaks everything. It breaks the concept of evidence.
It creates a post-truth reality. Adversaries could retrospectively alter old digital records. They could frame individuals for crimes they didn't commit by planting evidence in old logs and making the hashes match.
They could change historical records of what a politician said or did.
And the terrifying implication the source highlights is that no one would be able to prove the data was tampered with.
The proof itself is broken.
That's the trust vacuum. If I accuse you of changing the record, and you say, no, look, the digital signature matches, and I say, but you have a quantum computer, we are at a stalemate. There is no objective truth anymore in the digital realm.
That is incredibly bleak. It's like gaslighting on a civilizational scale.
It is. And it brings us to the timeline. Because while this sounds like far future sci-fi, the source breaks it down into very concrete phases.
Let's look at that summary, the short term, from roughly 2026 to 2030.
This is the period we are entering now. Let's call it the pre-quantum anxiety phase.
The calm before the storm.
The privacy sector is defined by anxiety and harvesting paranoia. We know the data is being stolen, but we can't stop it. In security, it's a pure race for quantum supremacy. Every major power is pouring billions into getting there first.
A new kind of arms race.
A silent one. And then the long term. Post-Q day. Let's say 2030 plus.
The event horizon.
That's the great unmasking. Privacy ends for historical data. In law, the source predicts legal chaos. Imagine trying to prosecute a case when the evidence is a decrypted email from 12 years ago.
And the defense argues it was quantum tampered?
And the prosecution argues it wasn't. The courts will be paralyzed. How do you establish beyond a reasonable doubt?
And for security, it's total transparency of the pre-quantum era. Everything before the fix is an open book.
And there is a silver lining here, which the source makes sure to include. This isn't necessarily the end of the world.
Okay.
We aren't totally helpless.
Oh, good. I was just about to go live in a cave. What is the silver lining?
The threat is so absolute that it is forcing cooperation. The source calls it forced cooperation.
Meaning, because everyone is equally screwed, everyone has to work together. Mutually assured destruction.
In a way, the internet is a shared resource. If it breaks, everyone loses. The banks, the governments, the regular people, even the hackers lose their playground. So we're currently witnessing a massive global effort in mathematics and cryptography to rebuild the internet's foundation while it is still running.
This is the migration to PQC post-quantum cryptography.
Yes. It turns out quantum computers are not gods. They are good at very specific types of math, like factoring. But there are other types of math problems, like lattice-based cryptography, that even a quantum computer finds incredibly hard.
So it's like we discovered a key that can pick any cylinder lock.
So now we're inventing a whole new kind of lock that key doesn't work on.
So the goal is to swap out the old locks for these new lattice locks.
Exactly. And the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, and other bodies are standardizing these new algorithms right now. Big companies, governments, they're all starting this massive upgrade cycle.
It's a race against time.
It is. It's the biggest IT project in human history. We are trying to replace the engine of the airplane while we are flying it at 30,000 feet with 4 billion passengers on board.
That's a great way to put it.
Every server, every router, every banking protocol, every car, every satellite has to be updated.
So there is hope. We might be able to build a quantum-proof shield before the sword is sharp enough to cut us.
We might. But remember the harvest now problem.
Oh.
Even if we switch to perfect quantum-proof encryption tomorrow morning, everything we sent yesterday is still sitting in that vault, waiting for the old key.
The time bomb is already set. We can prevent more bombs from being planted, but we can't defuse the ones that are already in the archive.
That is the reality. The great unmasking of the years, say, 2010 to 2030, is likely inevitable. We just have to decide how we are going to live with that exposure.
That is a sobering thought to end on.
It is the reality of the digital age. A period of our history will become transparent.
So let's synthesize this for our listener. We've gone from the HNDL, time bomb, the idea that your data is being stored right now for future reading,
To the potential return of physical first privacy, whispering on park benches.
we've looked at the $3 trillion risk to the banking system and the extinction event for crypto.
Total meltdown potential.
And we've looked at the God view of geopolitical power, where history itself can be rewritten or weaponized.
The takeaway for the learner is this. You cannot assume that digital means permanent or private. Those two concepts are dissolving.
They're becoming liabilities.
You have to operate with the understanding that the digital world is a glass house and the curtains are about to be pulled back.
You have to change your mental model. Engage with technology for what it is. A tool for broadcasting, for calculation, for convenience.
But not for secrets.
If you have a true secret, keep it analog.
Precisely. Pen and paper. A quiet conversation.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to mull over. The source talks a lot about retrospective privacy.
Right. The loss of past privacy.
So here is the question. If you knew with 100% certainty that everything you type today, every text, every email, every search query, every venting session about your boss, will be read by a stranger in 10 years,
An unknown, potentially hostile stranger.
do you still hit send?
And more importantly, does the knowledge of that future audience change who you are today? Do you self-censor? Do you change your behavior?
Do you become a more guarded, less authentic version of yourself?
Because if you do, the unmasking has already worked. The threat alone has already changed you.
Think about that the next time you see those 3 little dots typing a message. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Stay safe out there, or at least stay in digital.
See you next time.